Hey everybody, back today with another Love Dare. Today is, this is Love Dare for parents. Gotta love our kids. Day 5 is Love is Wonderful. Psalm 139:6 says, "Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is too high. I cannot attain to it." Every child is a one-of-a-kind mini masterpiece. No known duplicates exist. They each have distinctive fingerprints, heart rhythms, eye patterns, and blood constitution. Even identical twins can be physically alike and yet light years apart in how they're mentally wired and gifted. Our children do not just grow up different, they show up different. Though circumstances and training will greatly affect their lives, the originality that is already ingrained into each of our children reflects brilliant pre-planning. Every birthmark is a trademark. Every special feature is a signature of divine design. The scriptures state that God is not only the one who opens a mother's womb to conceive, but he personally gets involved forming and weaving the systems of a child's body into a tapestry of life. That's Psalm 139:13 and 14. He draws the blueprints for every little boy and owns the copyright on every little girl. But his handiwork goes far beyond gender, shoe size, and eye color. His genius also inscribes the intricacies of their personalities, their perks and quirks, and the bounces in their gait, their eagerness to jump, or their cautious tendency to wait. He handpicks their preferences, he rations out their healthy passions. But these are not random choices. God is always intentional as to why he makes each child the way he does. He desires his power, creativity, and image to be uniquely reflected in each living soul. Even in his allowance of unexpected birth defects, his conclusions are kind. His strength is often revealed most vividly through human weakness, cultivating deep character and compassion in their families. Your children are also distinctively prepared for the purpose of helping others. It's Ephesians 2:10. He places them into a specific time and space and enables them to thrive where others are ill-equipped to meet unique needs others cannot. So when you consider the wonder of each of your children, love invites you as a parent to go on an adventure of discovery by unpacking the marvelous mystery of their design. It is good to ask, how are they wired? How are they unique? Who are they becoming? What is already in them that needs to be discovered and inspired? You may already recognize that their gender and birth order are gifts, not accidents. Sons and daughters will not need the same training. He needs masculine adventure, cultivation of inner courage, and training for responsible manhood. She needs to be lovingly affirmed in her beauty, strengthened within her femininity, and directed in how to connect with others unselfishly. Your firstborn child may relate better to adults and lead others well, but needs to learn not to always have his own way. The secondborn may be more competitive, the youngest more independent, but each must be directed to channel their drives for good. Have you discerned what type of intelligence your child has? Some kids can remember words and facts easily, while others are capable entrepreneurs. One may be a natural engineer, while another is a master of friendship and resolves relationship problems with ease. Some are meticulously technical, others are cleverly comical. Each one will shine in some way and should be encouraged and valued for the brilliance within their mentality. Let your kindness also uncover how your children best communicate and receive love. Each one should be loved the same amount, but not in the same way. One may most desire your physical affection, while another primarily needs your focused time. See if your son or daughter is energized more when praised, served, or receiving a gift of some kind. As you discover what helps them feel the most fulfilled, you can then strategically focus your attention and energy more effectively with each one when you are with them. Loving parents requires discovery with direction. It's listening and learning how a child thinks, dreams, and grows. It's separating their God-given learning from their temporary longing. It's watching their habits, guarding them against their weaknesses, and growing them in their strengths. Too often, parents misunderstand and misguide, or they pre-plan too rigidly and then force and frustrate their child to become something God never intended. If your tiny daughter thrives at the piano, don't pressure her to tackle your tuba. If your son thrives at writing and singing, don't belittle him for not being an all-star quarterback. Instead, uncover and embrace the treasure you've been given. Accept and affirm their design. Water and cultivate the seeds God has already planted. Then, instead of chasing someone else's dream, they can mature and be secure in their own. And by your guidance and focused love, they can joyfully echo the words of the psalmist when he gratefully prayed, "You formed my inward parts, you wove me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well." That's Psalm 139, 13 and 14. So here's today's love dare. Thank God for how He designed your children, and then discern if each one responds best to physical affection, verbal affirmation, spending quality time together, giving a gift, or serving a need of theirs. If you know their preferred way to give and receive love, take a few moments to communicate love to them in that way before the day ends. Okay, let me just give a couple things here. The first thing would be their unique design and their Ephesians 2:10 life. Ephesians 2:10 talks about that we're predestined in certain things that we would walk in. And so each one of your children has that. You've got innate gifts that God's placed within them. I used to say that God starts with a dream and then He builds a little human around it, like Psalm 139, 13 and 14 says. There's the dream inside. Those are the giftings. That's that special voice that they've got to find, that God's placed within them. It's like a treasure chest. You get to unpack that thing and find it on the journey of development. And it's your job as a parent to stabilize the environment and encourage that thing, bring it out of them by loving and leading them in the way that they should go. That's what Scripture says, that we ought to raise them up, in the things of God. But some parents kind of twist that a little bit and raise them up in the way they think they should go. And we're not talking about morality here. That's not the issue. It's not their morals. It's not what they think right or wrong. Right or wrong is right or wrong, and you need to teach them good morals and Christ-like character. But I'm talking about in the thing they're made to do. And they have a unique thing that they are to do. And it may not be something you know anything about, and you might not even like it necessarily. But because you treasure them, and because they're precious to you and you delight in them, then you also have got to delight in the design and let it play out. Let it be revealed. The other thing is that this the way people receive love, those are love languages. The book doesn't really say that, but if you look up love languages, I think it's Gary Smalley that wrote that book a long time ago. There's tests that you can take online, and this is actually something for spouses to do. You find out your spouse's love language. And again, it's a little online thing. You can take a test and it'll tell you what your love languages are. And what that is the 5 love languages are physical affection, in other words, touch, verbal affirmation, spending quality time, gift giving and receiving, and service. And these are ways that people feel love. In other words, if you got a love language of affirmation, but your love language is gift giving, and so you keep giving gifts, although they might appreciate it, it's not their language. You're speaking kind of Chinese, and so it doesn't land. And lots of times spouses do this unknowingly. They're loving their spouse with what their love languages are, because that's what we do. Because that's what we think says love. That's what it says to us, and so that's what we typically do to try to show love. And we're just speaking another language. It's not landing for them. And so it's our job to discover, because we care and we take time and effort to discover, how is my spouse wired? And in this case, how's my child wired? But this actually works for the whole family, and really anybody else, but especially the intimate relationships within your family. You ought to know how your wife or your husband is wired, and you need to know that about your kids too, because you want to love them in a way they feel it, like it registers, and that's you knowing them. And so I would encourage you to do the work to figure that out. With a kid, they might not be able to take some test, but if you know enough about those things, and you start thinking about your own love language, and you're working on your marriage by loving with that love language, you can start picking up on some of these things as far as what your kids do. But that's some great advice. That ought to keep you busy for a little while. I'm going to do some thinking myself about my own children and their love languages. Ask the Lord to help you. That's a great idea. That can be an awesome prayer. Father, would you help us know and understand those that are in our family, how to love our kids, how to love our husband, our wife, whatever the case may be, and Lord, give us a sensitivity. See, I speak with the Lord that way, and He guides me. He shows me things, and so that's a great idea. So glad you're listening to these. I'm so glad I'm reading them. Man, our families are important. So love your spouse, love your kids. God is behind you in Malachi 4, 5, and 6. So know that the fathering Spirit's behind you. He's ready to work with you as you work with Him and make some things happen that are God-sized. So God bless you, family, and we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.